The greatest stories are true stories. Stories of people who lived real lives and who overcame tough challenges to survive, succeed, and make a difference. Great stories aren't just fairy tales of heroes and wealth. A truly great story is one where real people in the real world accomplished amazing things because they chose to believe that their hopes and their dreams could come true. Today, we want to tell you a great story.
Hi, my name is Miss Jackie, and I'm with Samaritans Feet. And I want to tell you the true story of how Samaritans Feet began. It all started in the heart of a little boy from Nigeria, Africa. His name is Emmanuel Ohomi. When Manny was in his mom's tummy, it really all began. His mom, living in the village in Nigeria, was a believer in God. But the witch doctor did not approve. And the witch doctor one day said, "Mrs. Ohomi, this boy will not be born." One night, Mrs. Ohomi was in her little home there in Nigeria, all alone, and she felt an evil presence in the room. And then she actually heard footsteps. And in her fear, she began to touch her abdomen where her baby was growing, and she said the words, "God is with me. God is with me." Now, Emmanuel's name turned into Manny as a nickname. And every night, Manny and his 5 sisters and his 2 brothers would sit outside of their little hut in Nigeria, and Mom would tell them a story from the Bible. Mom's favorite story, though, was the story of the Good Samaritan. It's a story of a man who was beaten and left to die, robbed. And a stranger walked up who was just traveling, and he helped the man. He picked up the hurt man, and he put him on his horse. He even paid his money to help the man with medical expenses, knowing that he'd never, ever be repaid. Well, when Manny was 9 years old, a very exciting thing happened in the Nigerian village. A missionary came all the way from America, and his name was Dave. Dave brought orange balls, and he taught the Nigerian children to bounce them and to play basketball. And he also brought with him 2 pairs of shoes. Dave, the missionary, chose Manny to give one of those pairs of shoes to. And when he gave him the shoes, he gave him much more. For this missionary said to him, "Young man, you need to hope. You need to dream. You need to dream big, young man. God has great plans for you." Well, Emmanuel grew, and he grew, and he grew, and he grew to be 6 feet 5 inches tall. And he was a very, very good basketball player. And as he got older, one of the coaches in the country recognized his talent and said, "Son, do you dream of getting an education?" And Emmanuel said, "I do." And the coach said to Emmanuel, "I've got an opportunity for you with a scholarship to the University of North Dakota, the Lake region." Now, everybody in the village was excited that one of their boys was going to go to America and get a college education. So everybody started gathering up items for Manny to take. And his mother sold everything so Emmanuel would have a little money for his trip all the way to America. When Emmanuel arrived in North Dakota, it was very cold. He had never been in cold. It's very hot in Nigeria. He called up and he said, "Is the coach there?" And the coach wasn't in town and there was nobody to pick him up. So Emmanuel had to sleep on the floor in the airport in North Dakota. And as he laid there covered up by newspaper, he thought, "What is happening? Have I dreamed too big? Is there any hope?" Oh, he was afraid. Manny made it to the University of North Dakota, the Lake region, where he studied very hard, and he practiced very hard and played ball hard. And then he made a decision to go on and get his master's. Went to another university, took off his basketball shoes, and put on his businessman shoes. And during this time, Manny was elected the Snow King of the university. And interestingly enough, he married the Snow Queen. Her name, Tracy Elfman. Things went well. He became the vice president of a marketing company. They bought a beautiful big home. They had beautiful cars. Manny had all the shoes he could ever want to wear, and God had given them 4 beautiful children. But it wasn't long until he received a call from Africa. The call was a frantic call from his sister. And his sister said to him, "Emmanuel, our father is dying from drinking too much alcohol. What must I tell him?" And Emmanuel, over the telephone through his sister, said things about his faith. He talked to his sister about heaven and about forgiveness. And the sister related it to the father who was dying in the hospital in Nigeria. And as the father took his last breath, Emmanuel's father asked for forgiveness for the life that he had lived. So Manny and the whole family went to Nigeria for his father's funeral. And while they were in Nigeria, he saw all the children out in the city, out in the villages, children with no shoes, children just playing ball, children that had needs. And he kept hearing in the back of his mind his mother saying, "Emmanuel, one day you must be a good Samaritan. You must go and help others as you have been helped." When Manny and the family returned from Nigeria from his father's funeral, his heart was very heavy. He had a dream, and he didn't know what to do with it. So he went to Dallas on a business trip with his boss, Jay. They were watching the Mavericks play that night, and Manny looked at Jay and he said, "Jay, I have a big dream, and I'm afraid if I tell anybody, they're going to laugh." And Jay said, "Tell me, brother." And Emmanuel said to Jay, "I believe God wants me to give 10 million pair of shoes away to 10 million children around the world and to share with them a message of hope, just like was done to me by Dave the missionary." And his friend Jay Rollins said, "Go for it, Manny." And in 2003, Manny and his wife Tracy made the decision to leave corporate America and to start Samaritans Feet. And since that time, they have given away over 1 million pair of shoes all around the world. And not only given shoes, but they've challenged boys and girls to dream. They've given hope. And he's even with us today, Manny.
Oh, Miss Jackie, thank you so much for telling my story.
You're so welcome. I loved it. I loved it.
You know, to millions of kids in this country, a pair of shoes is a fashion statement. But to millions of kids around the world, it's a symbol of hope. You know, 300 million kids wake up every morning without a pair of shoes on their feet. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for coming. Regardless of what your story is, remember that there is hope. And my challenge to you today is to dream that the Creator of the universe has a plan for you. Thank you, and have a fantastic day.